First of all, I would like you to have a quick look on what is happening behind me. This is Chantal Sebir, a French school teacher. She was suffering from a very acute kind of cancer. She cannot take morphine because of the side effects, and the illness left her blind with no sense of taste or smell. She was seeking euthanasia, but was not allowed to discuss the matter publicly. This is the story of Chantal Sebir. Dear members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Beatrice Marilyn Sagna, and I'm a member of the CESAG Great Speaker team. Before going any deeper in the topic, I would like to share some consideration with you. After that, move to the definition of euthanasia, and finally, explain the reason why we are for euthanasia. I know that you guys from BEM Great Speaker team are going to tell me that euthanasia is a murder, but it's wrong. We have to come back to the definition of the term. A murder compulsorily encompasses a viciousness intention, whereas one of the necessary conditions of euthanasia is a benevolent intention of relieving pain and suffering. So, euthanasia and murder have by definition nothing to do together. And I know that you guys from BEM Great Speaker team are going to tell me that euthanasia is an anti-religious practice. But never ever forget that God is love, right? God is compassion. God is merciful. So, how God can be insensitive about the suffering of his sons and daughters? And I know that you guys from the BEM Great Speaker team are going to tell me that the plight of euthanasia stems from the excesses that may happen. But I have a question for you. Are we going to banish all the practices worldwide because we think that they will be jeopardized by excesses? No, it's not relevant. We have to allow them and at the same time control them, oversee them. Now, let's move to the definition of euthanasia. Euthanasia refers to the practice of ending a life in order to relieve a patient suffering from an incurable and painful disease or an irreversible coma. So, when practices euthanasia, it means that we can do nothing, I said nothing, to save the concern. Why are we for euthanasia? First of all, because euthanasia relieves suffering. You know, we are used to say that suffering is part of human condition, and at the same time, we do everything we can to protect ourselves from suffering. We put up an umbrella to avoid rainfall on us. So, why don't we understand that somebody who is facing a long, silent, and painful death wants to end his or her agony? You know, euthanasia is not a commonplace word for me, because my uncle, who passed away a couple of years ago, was used to ask euthanasia. He was suffering from, you know, a very acute ill, and my family and I did not understand such a crazy request. But one day, we went to the hospital to visit him, and during the discussion, the doctor asked him, on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how high is the pain? And my uncle answered, 11/10. I said, 11/10. It is where my understanding for practicing euthanasia arose out, because this man was suffering from a deep, deep ill, and I did not realize it. Moreover, euthanasia is a matter of dignity, and part of dignity through euthanasia is to understand that somebody is undermining by a great ill. In this context, there is a big difference between existence and living. Living is what you do. Leave home, take a car, and attend to Supermax. If we had just to exist, then tell me why don't we just limit ourselves to eat, sleep, and reproduce? It's because we recognize that there is more to live than simply existing. All things considered, I think that euthanasia, allowing euthanasia, is a matter of humanism, and I dare imagine that you and I won't miss the train of humanism. Dear members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the attention.
My name is Serge Alogno, and I'm a member of CESAG Great Speaker team. Euthanasia, for or against? Every year in the world, 55% of terminally ill patients die in pain and horrible grief, while they are just asking for the simple mercy of death, peaceful death through euthanasia. Let them suffer terribly for months and even for years, while they are claiming they cannot afford anymore their sufferings. It's not love. That is called cruelty. Firstly, I'll tell you the reason why in certain horrible circumstances people must be given the right to die, and afterward, why the real euthanasia is moral and humane. Once upon a time, Michel, who devoted his whole life to give hope to those who are suffering from AIDS, was told by his daughter that he had cancer. Some months later, his cancer became a terminal cancer. He started to be deteriorated, and he was bruised by his disease. Then the doctor came and told him that he had to live in such a situation for 10 months again. He cried to the doctor and to his family and asked for euthanasia, for his sufferings are beyond his capabilities. That Michel can be your brother. Michel can be your sister, or even your wife or husband. Will you let him continue living in such a nightmare? Will you let him completely deteriorate because some people will call euthanasia a murder? No. No. Here come love and compassion. Give him the right to die is the most reasonable action you can do toward him, because after all, it is his right. And Professor Anthony Grelin, a British philosopher, agreed with me when he said, I believe that decisions about the timing and manner of death belong to the individuals as a human right. Moreover, the real euthanasia is moral and humane. We all know God is love, and all religions in the world are claiming love and compassion. Keeping someone in pain, incapable of moving a single muscle in his body, is not loving. That is evil. So, to show love and compassion towards such a person, we have to let him undergo euthanasia, if that is his will. Cecily Saunders, a prominent Anglican nurse and writer, said, you matter because you are you. You matter to the last moment of your life. And we will do all we can, not only to help you die peacefully, but also to live until you die. That means that the euthanasia we are defending must be used where there is no other solutions. Finally, when someone is laid to bed, deprived of all senses, unable to express or to experience life, that person is not living. So, when he chooses to undergo euthanasia, every person who got heart and feelings can never go against his will. For euthanasia is the best solution. I say the best solution where there is no other solutions. Thank you.
Imagine a world where because you are sick or disabled, people decide that you are disposable. Legalizing euthanasia sends exactly that message. It tells people that it's better to die than to be sick or disabled. It sends the message that your life is not worth living when you are sick or disabled. So now let me ask you, a simple question. What makes your life worth living? Is it the number of friends you have, how much money you have, or is it based upon how healthy you are? Derry Paravinici is a 34-year-old British man. He was born blind, autistic, and severely disabled at 25 weeks. Now you would have considered that his life is not worth living. Well, know that today he has won several awards and is known all around the world for his musical talent. Human life is sacred. God is the only one who has the power to give life, and he's the only one who has the power to take it back. He's the only one who has the power to take it back. All human beings are to be valued, irrespective of age, sex, religion, or their potential for achievement. Proponents of euthanasia contend that terminally ill people and elderly people should have the right to die with a quick, dignifying, and compassionate death. They argue that the right to die is protected by the same constitutional rights that guarantee rights like marriage, procreation, and the refusal for life-saving treatment. But let me ask you another question. What does the Hippocratic Oath worse? If we can allow doctors to kill people because they decide that their life is not worth living anymore. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big advocate of dying in dignity. But shouldn't people die knowing that their family have been taking care of them and have been loving them, knowing that the doctors did everything they could to make their life easier? Euthanasia is not necessary when palliative, a medical specialty that focuses on pain, stress, and symptom relief, is so advanced. And as a society, our responsibility is to make sure that those who need it get it. Is euthanasia always in the patient's best interest? How much actual control does the patient have over choosing or refusing death? The Netherlands is the first country to legalize euthanasia. Today, the practice has been expanding from the elderly and the terminally ill people to include infants. The Groningen Protocol has created a category of killable babies. Now, I'm going to let you decide if this practice is ethical or not. Do you think it's fair to choose whether a baby should live or not? I don't think so. So many cases of abuses have been registered in the Netherlands. People getting euthanized without their consent. Those who are in a coma and who get euthanized because people decide that it's too expensive to take care of them. Now, if we legalize euthanasia, some patients will feel pressured to take such a radical decision. As I let my colleague Saini take the stage, I want you to remember these words from Dr. Peter Sanders. The right to die can easily become the duty to die.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. First of all, let me make sure that everybody in this room has got the full picture about euthanasia. We're talking about, well, cancer is very painful, but let me remind you that terminally ill people do not only live in Netherlands or Belgium. There are many terminally ill people all around the world who chose to struggle, who chose to fight, because they choose life, and this is human, this is natural. This is what we call self-preservation. This is instinct of survival. And, you know, look at what's happening in Belgium, for example. In Belgium, some congressmen are seriously thinking about extending euthanasia to, they say, and I quote, underage people capable of discernment. I mean, this is scandalous. I mean, I cannot even, I don't have enough words to express what I feel right now. And, well, in Oregon State, for example, well, Oregon has seen a rise in incidents in physical assisted suicide of 400%, maybe more, and those figures, they just keep rising. And tell me about Netherlands, for example, where thousands of people they've been killed by doctors without expressing the request. And, well, euthanasia, let's imagine what would happen in the United States, where millions of poor people don't have access to medical care. Let's just imagine. It would mean that, well, people are disposable if they are weak or sick or old, and even more, some medical care facilities, they just give doctors bonuses, cash money, when they decide to end the treatment of a terminally ill patient if that person cannot afford it. Because, I mean, what do you want? I mean, this is like telling people, well, you have to die because it will be better for us, we'll be better financially. This is, how can you tell that to your family member? And even talking about family members, I mean, some people, they just choose to, you know, be with their families until the end of their lives. And I'm talking about millions of people because they want to make you feel like every terminally ill cancer patient decided euthanasia, and that is wrong. That is not the truth. And I'm sure, guys, this is not the world you want to leave to your children. This is not a legacy you want to leave to them. You don't want your children to live in a world where, well, a doctor comes and kills your mother or your sister, stands up there, looks you in the eye and tells you, we need the bed. You cannot do that. So that will be like the end of the world, because, I mean, because you can walk and talk and eat and everything and drink water and have nice cell phones, and because others can't do that because they're ill, because they have cancer or AIDS or whatever, well, that is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be the end of my talk. Thank you for your attention.
Dear members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Michelle Lauren, and I'm a member of the CESAG Grace Speaker team. I've noticed that even if my teammates have already explained it, you guys from BEM still don't make the difference between euthanasia and killing. So I'll explain once again for you to make it clear. Euthanasia is the fact of giving people who are victims of incurable disease the right to die peacefully, painlessly. While killing means ending someone's life with no mercy and no care. And in CESAG, we are for real euthanasia. We are not claiming a mass killing of people in a mass. Now, you say it's against religious values or beliefs, and that makes me wonder what kind of religion you believe in, to be comfortable with the fact of watching people suffering without lifting any finger. Do you think it's normal? I don't think so, because it's inconceivable to say those people should be kept in that constant physical, mental, and psychological torture while you are able to fully enjoy your abilities. Another point is, let me show you some pictures. Look at them. You say medical treatment and palliative cares are the best way for those people to feel better. See the pictures. Do they express any kind of joy or enthusiasm? How can you look at those people and who are unable to breathe or eat without machine, who just support life like a burden and feel deeply in their heart the need to die in order to escape the hell they are trapped in? How dare you look at them and say no to their request because you don't believe in euthanasia? I just think it's horrible, because it's a matter of how much humane we are to help despaired one to find release in joy, release joy in their death. Another point is, I think you guys from BM are not compassionate enough to understand that. And you are so selfish and confident about your position because you think it may never happen to you. And I pray for you and your family to never face this kind of situation. Dear members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your attention.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, my fellow students from CESAG. I heard some really hurtful things. I take this really to heart, because this is not even what I was going to say, but saying we are not compassionate, and I quote, we just witness their suffering without lifting any finger, is hurtful to me, because both my parents went through this. First, it was my dad, who caught cancer. It was during my last year of high school. And saying that I'm not compassionate because I take it with me, due to who's talking to my team, but is really something big. Let me tell you what happened. He caught cancer, wouldn't tell me. I found out by myself, just by listening, because he was still talking to my mother. They're divorced, by the way. We had this question was brought up to the table. It was, but I, myself, I'm his elder son. I talked to him. I was like, you cannot leave. You cannot leave. At that time, he was alone, had no support. He was thinking about it. No way I could let that happen. Being there for him, and let's say the hand of God maybe saved him. Today, he is where he is and I am where I am because he's still alive. On to my mother. A simple thing, asthma attack. Some of y'all have asthma. The doctors had to put her in a coma. They had to. She stayed in there for like 2 weeks. 2 weeks where every day I would hear stuff like, you know, maybe we should, and you know, left and right, all their stuff. I had my dad's support because he went through that. but the rest of the family wasn't really into that. Once again, once everybody had even forgotten about her, she woke up healthy, could talk, didn't lose any of her mental abilities. I say, we gotta fight for life. To me, I wasn't born to just give up, because that's giving up. That's the message you're sending. You're giving up. Okay, euthanasia, okay, thousands of people across the world are working on research to cure what y'all call incurable. But do you know, how would you feel if somebody had one of those diseases and you let him or her go, next thing you know, 2 weeks later, a cure is found? What do? How do you live? Tell me. I heard benevolence, I heard God, but this is all I have to tell you, because this is really... Thank you.